Hi there, Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. Today I have some really exciting news. I have a new release that I have brought about with rubber stamp tapestry. I have 3 stamp sets that I've designed for Christmas and they have produced, so I'm really proud and excited to introduce them to you today. I have a build your own gingerbread house, a build your own fireplace mantle kind of set so you can do interiors. You can also mix it up with other stamps you have, and also a build your own snow globe or ornament set, so you can turn the snow globe upside down and add one of the ornament hangers if you want to do an ornament. And rubber stamp tapestry does have a new set out with different things to add to these sets or your other peg stamp sets or other stamps that you have, with a lot of nice sentiments on it that I really like, and they're clear. So this is a new thing for rubber stamp tapestry, to come out with clear stamps, and I think with these scene builders they're going to be really useful to have them that way. The stamp set I'm most excited to use first is this build your own gingerbread house stamp set, and I actually decided to wait and use it with you for the first time on camera so you can see how good quality they are, and also so I can show you brand new pretty stamps and not my grimy stamps, because I usually get them pretty grimy right off the bat. So if you want any of these, you can find them at pegstamps.com, and I will have links to each specific set in the video description. Thank you so much for your encouragement over the years. If it wasn't for you guys, they wouldn't have had me to do these stamps with them, so thank you guys. So we're gonna get right to it, and it's gonna be fun. I started off by putting the smaller stamps on some smaller mounts that I had, and I did double mount them because it's just easier not to have too many stamps on your table at once. Now for the larger ones, here's a trick. When you're using clear stamps, sometimes they can bend. These are fully backed, so they shouldn't stretch and bend out of shape, but one tip that I have whenever I'm using a large clear stamp is that I lay it down on my paper, stamp side down, and then I will pick it up with my stamp mount. And I like to use a curved mount for large stamps, and I'm just going to roll it right on top of there. But of course, if you don't have a big stamp mount, you can always use a die cutting plate if you have one, or any sort of piece of like plexiglass or anything like that. It's kind of smooth that you can stick it to, but it should be clear so you can see through it. So now that I have all of my stamps on mounts, I am going to get the cardstock that I plan on using. I have just a kraft card base. I've got a piece of blue that I'm using for a background. That's going to be kind of like a snowy sky. I've got some white to do my candy stamping on, and then I found this beautiful textured paper by Coordinations that I thought would be nice to stamp the gingerbread house texture on. These are also sized for A2 cards, so if you want to do like a batch of small, just like your standard A2 size cards, like that take a half sheet of regular cardstock, this will fit on there perfectly, and you can make a bunch of economical cards. So I think I'm going to use some waterproof ink on this, and actually I think this might be really pretty if I embossed it. I'm going to ink up my stamp with a VersaFine Clair ink, which is a waterproof and embossable ink, and I'm just going to tap it on there gently. Make sure you have a good coverage, and when you're using a curved block, you actually will rock it. So try to make sure you have a fairly smooth surface so everything makes contact. And there you go. So I think I want to emboss this for 2 reasons. Just because this cardstock has a little bit of a coating on it, it might make the ink a little bit harder to dry. It'll just give me a really good impression. And because I forgot to put my embossing cornstarch pouch on my cardstock first, I'm going to use clear just in case the embossing powder sticks to other parts of the texture there, which actually would be fine. It actually was alright. It would be fine because then it would look kind of glistening like it had sugar on it. Now I'm just going to heat this up. And there we go. That's nice and protected, and it looks really sharp. I decided I would do all of my stamping on this white smooth cardstock. It's just regular old white cardstock, and I thought I would use more of these VersaFine Clear pads because then I can have all kinds of gorgeous color and I can emboss them, and that way everything will have a little bit of a candy coating shine on it. So I'm just gonna go ahead and stamp the different elements. We get like a peppermint stick here. I want to do that a couple times, so in case I want to do in case I want to put them like around the door, I have 2. And I think I'll also do a couple red peppermints. It's nice to have a few extras. You can always use them on another project, so that's nice. I'm gonna do a few little candies too. They'd kind of be like M&Ms or Red Hots. Oops, I didn't press that down very well. There we go. just basically stamp out the different elements from the set. You could probably use a paper punch to punch these out, so it's nice to stamp them near the edge, so you can do that. I also think I'll get a few red gumdrops. These will all need to be cut out, so just kind of keep that in mind, however many you want to stamp. And I got some, I made this little orange slice stamp because I thought this would be really, really cute. I mean, it might not really match the colors of stuff we're doing, but you know, when you're making gingerbread houses, you get all these crazy colors, and it's part of the fun, I think. Now for the frosting bits, I'm going to use, you could use a gray, but I think just using kind of a turquoise would be a little more fun. So that's what I'm going to use here. Oh, I think that's fun. You can all, after you emboss it, you can add a little watercolor to that. I think that would be really pretty. All right, let's do a few green elements. I'm going to use this rainforest. It's probably the closest to, oh, I want to do a couple of these other little frosting elements too with blue. One for the top of the chimney. And we'll do a couple little finials, just a couple frosting squirts. Oh my gosh, they're so cute. Taking my love of wanting to, I'm pressing too hard, there we go. Taking my love of, you know, illustrating cakes to stamps, which is really fun. All right, I'm gonna clean off this stamp just by pressing it on my scrap paper a few times. We'll get a couple of those. And I think I want to do a few green gumdrops as well, but I think I'm going to use this lighter green. I did stop and clean my stamps because I want to make sure that I do get a nice bright green, because I thought that one looked a little bit dull. Let's try doing a couple with this bright. Oh, I like that green a little bit better. And we'll do some gumdrops. They don't have to be right set up because we're going to cut them out. So the reason I had all these different elements in a clear stamp set is so you could build it on a piece of watercolor paper, white emboss it or clear emboss it, and then watercolor it. That would be super cute. But I wanted to collage today. I was feeling like I just wanted to just kind of cut and paste a bit. So now I am going to coat this with embossing powder, and hopefully my ink didn't dry on me. And I'm working over a piece of black construction paper so I can collect all of my leftover powder and put it back in the jar because you don't want to waste it. Oh good. Oh, look at that. I'm really impressed with this VersaFine Clear for embossing. I haven't used it for embossing yet, but I knew that was one of their capabilities. The nice thing about these inks is they're for watercolor, for embossing, and I've heard you could use Copic markers with them, but I haven't done that myself yet. So go ahead and emboss all of your color stamped images. The next thing I'm going to do is grab some snowflake stamps, and these are peg stamps. They're from the Winter Night Sky set. There might be a couple sets here, Diamond Sky and Winter Night Sky. And I am going to stamp these randomly over this background panel that I'll be using. And I'm going to emboss it with bridal white, which is, it's a white powder, but it's not as opaque as other white powders. It's more translucent, so it's going to give you more of a subtle snowflake look. So I thought this would be just really pretty to have in the background of our gingerbread house. I'm kind of avoiding this area in here because it won't really matter. It's not really going to show up. And I just, you know, grab snowflakes from different stamp sets to give a little variety and also some repetition. So it wouldn't look like the same snowflake over and over again. So it doesn't really matter what snowflakes you use, just make sure you have a variety. Stars would also work really well. Actually, I don't think I'm going to put the other ones in because I think those three did the trick. And let's sprinkle this with some bridal. Isn't that pretty? You can see how iridescent it is. I'm going to get burned though one of these times. I keep forgetting to use my embossing pouch. I'm too excited because my new stamps are out. Oh, look at that. You can already see. It's kind of amazing because you don't even see your pattern until you actually until you actually sprinkle it when using the clear embossing ink. All right, I'm brushing off any excess down here, and we're gonna heat this up. Here you can see how pretty that came out embossed. So if you didn't have bridal, you could certainly use white or silver. Any of those options would be really pretty. Because the paper is a little bit warped from embossing, I am actually going to use hot glue to adhere it down. I do that a lot when I have really textured elements, if I'm using an embossed paper, or if I've done watercoloring, because sometimes watercoloring wrinkles your paper. So you don't need a lot, just a little bit to just to tack down everything. Just, you know, make sure you give yourself plenty of space to hold on to it. I find thick cardstock usually gives you a nice barrier as far as not burning yourself. And I cut out the house here by hand, and I also just grabbed a scrap of a little bit of a darker paper, and I thought it'd be cool to kind of build it and put this on a little dimensional adhesive. And that would give me some, that would give it kind of the look like you're looking into the gingerbread house, and it's got a little bit of depth there. So I'm just going to put adhesive on the back of my house here and get that ready for assembly. I also cut out some hills from some scraps of watercolor paper that I had here, because I thought that might be kind of nice to be able to add to kind of nestle my little house in. So let me figure out where I want to put them. I also want to just kind of give them a little bit of color. Now, of course, you could do that with watercolor, but I thought I would just use that same ink I was using for stamping, the one I used for the frosting, and just kind of hit the edges of my hills with a little bit of that really pale blue, because I think it will just kind of give you that cool, kind of snowy feeling. And I'm also going to use my hot glue gun to adhere all of these as well. I just want to make sure that I don't leave any gaps. And then I plan on putting the house on top of this, and then this last little piece in front. So I got to make sure that's down low enough. Okay, I'm going to make a mark there so I know where to glue that. That's a little crooked, but nobody's going to see it. And the nice thing about actually using hot glue is that you don't have to worry about the card coming apart in the mail. Like if you put this together with a glue stick, you might wonder, because it's so affected by humidity. Nothing's going to mess up this hot glue. I mean, it would have to be really hot. Maybe if you were mailing it to somebody in a super, super hot climate and they kept it stored in their car for a week, even then I don't think it would give you a problem. I'm going to figure out where I want that to be. Actually, I think I'm going to bring that down here like that so I can have my last little hill in front. So I'm going to glue this down. Oh, one of these has a little adhesive. Oh, I like that texture on that side of the paper. I'm going to make that side be out. Give us a little bit of a texture like our gingerbread house might have. Of course, the only gingerbread houses I've made have either been the prefab ones, or I remember in Girl Scouts we used to do them with graham crackers. We would cut the graham crackers and we would glue them together with frosting and let them set up, and then decorate them. It was so much fun. Oh, I think I'll have to do that this year. We would go elaborate too with them. It was so much fun. I put plenty of adhesive on the back here, so I wouldn't have to worry about this getting crushed in the mail. But it still will keep the postage pretty light. That little backing does not want to come off, but that's alright. And I want this offset just a little bit in the front, so that so it'll look like you're looking in. There's maybe some snow on the ground there. And I am going to use foam squares on the ends of this as well, so that it will be raised up to match. And we'll just put that right there so you get a little snow drift on the front. I think that is really cute. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is start adding the items that I've already cut out, and luckily my scan and cut recognized everything on the first pass, and I've got all of these to play with. Okay, I put everything back on my black piece of construction paper so you can see really well. And I'm going to begin by putting the frosting pieces down. I'm going to start with this chimney piece and just use whatever glue you use. Zip dry glue would be really good, but I've got my glue gun plugged in and ready to go, so I'm just going to use that. These are so fun. Now you could tint this a little bit more if you felt like you wanted oh, like you wanted a little bit more, oh, that looks kind of pretty that way. Like if you wanted a little bit more color on there. Oh, I kind of like that. I was going to do it the other way, but I actually kind of like that. Now you could use these with a mirror stamp if you want to have like opposing frosting pieces. That's what I probably should have done, but I wasn't honestly thinking about it at the time. Or you could have the bumps going up. It's completely up to you. Even though I used embossing powder, I'm not finding I'm having an issue with the hot glue, but I wouldn't like put gobs and gobs on or anything. So just kind of keep that in mind. But the reason I made these kind of little finial items is so you can finish areas off if you feel like they're like if you didn't want to use a mirror stamp and you have them kind of like this, you can put the little stars on the end so you don't have like an abrupt ending to your frosting. That's kind of pretty. Let's snip that tip right off there. Actually, I don't know if I want to put this one on the top or not. That looks pretty darn cute just the way it is. I'm going to reserve those for a moment and think about that. I know I want to put these candy canes on either side of the door. I think I might want to tuck the bottoms into the orange rings, and I just realized the orange slices would be adorable as Fruit Loops. So if you ever need Fruit Loops for a project, you will be covered. And actually, I seem to recall in Girl Scouts using Fruit Loops to decorate our gingerbread houses, because we ain't fancy in Maine. We will use whatever, we're very resourceful. And actually, it's one of the Girl Scout mottos is to use resources wisely. So using Fruit Loops to decorate your gingerbread house is a great use for them. Probably a better use for them than eating them, because I don't think they're very healthy. It's never a favorite, but they are colorful and pretty. Come to think of it, I'm not a fan of these orange slice candies either. Or any gummy-ish candies. Oh, that's kind of cute. Okay, so let's see. I'm gonna figure out what we want to do for the center there. I think that green one is cute. This one cut out a little nicer, so I think I'll use that. I could stack on a little, oops. Oh, you know what? I didn't stamp any of the little tiny, I was going to do the little tiny M&M candies like in green, but I never did. But I really didn't have room for anything else on this anyway, so I guess it's all right. Yeah, there's one other little M&M-y type size candy that comes in the kit as well. I think I'll do those next to it. You probably want to try, oh, it looks like a smiley face like that. You probably want to try to glue these down so the reflections are the same if you want to be really technical about it, but probably not glue them down like this so they look like little smiley faces. But that's kind of cute. And now I think I'll maybe just do a little gumdrop border down here. I'm not recommending hot glue for this, honestly. Zip dry glue would be much easier to deal with. My zip dry is upstairs, so didn't even occur to me to use that until I was actually putting this together, and I realized that, oh yeah, someone's going to burn themselves. I don't want anyone burning their hands off. As always, public service announcement, don't burn your hands off. There we go. Oh my gosh, I love this. It's so cute. I think I'm gonna have to look for something that I can use as smoke. And I was just going through old papers, like decorative paper, and I found some mylar, so I think I might make myself some little mylar smoke puffs in there. I think that'd be really cute. Oh, that's adorable. Let's see, do I want to have a little something on the top like that? That's kind of cute. I think I will. Don't mind if I do. Bloop. Oh, that's cute. You could put some candy on the inside. Actually, that looks kind of cute. Stick a little orange slice back there. I like it. Don't want to waste it. Probably have way too much glue on there. I'm going to wipe some off before I stick that in there. Another good reason to kind of ink the edges of your snow, if you end up smudging your finger, a dirty finger on that white snow, you won't really see it that much. Yeah, that's kind of cute. Do I want to tuck anything else in there, or is that just too much? That's probably too much, although I do have a couple of these dark green ones I haven't used yet, and I do hate to go through the trouble of stamping something and not using them. Yeah, I'm going to glue those in there too. It'll look like our little house is full of candy. And I like that. I like houses full of candy in my imaginary crafting land. Not really big on sweets too much in real life, but do I want that in there? Is that too much? I probably already crossed the threshold of too much, but gosh, I like that too. I'm sticking that in there. Okay, it didn't even matter that we put the orange slice in there. That's just in there for dimension, I guess, at this point. There we go. And I don't really have room for any more candy here. Alright, so I'm going to go see if I can find something for the smoke in the chimney. I'll be right back. So have you ever seen this stuff? Oftentimes, like if you get a gift basket or something, this will come like surrounding it all. And you can also buy it. It's called like metallic tissue paper or something. Sometimes the dollar store has it. And I just think it's really great for adding a little bit of sheer texture. And that's what I'm going to use for my smoke. And I'm pretty sure I just saved this off of a gift bag at one point. Many years ago. I actually forgot I had it. But I had to find some interesting papers for a project I was doing in the watercolor class I'm taking, so I happened upon this when I was looking for mulberry paper. So I'm just going to kind of crinkle it and gather it. This is made from plastic, so it will melt, but what I'm going to do is actually put a little glue back there. I'm going to shove that in and hold it in place with a little spatula here. So again, you probably will want to use something different, like a zip dry glue, so you don't have to work so fast. But you will have to hold it in place with the zip dry glue. This is going to dry so quickly I'm not even going to have to really hold it in place. Which is the real reason I love hot glue, is because it dries so quickly. So I'm just going to hold that for a second while it sets. So if I was really smart, I would have stamped Deck the Halls on that piece of cardstock back there before I began. But it didn't even occur to me to plan out my sentiment at that point. But I really want to use that, and I'm feeling kind of daring. So I think I'm going to see if I can actually still stamp that in there. And I think I can if I have a skinny enough stamp mount, which I just might have. Okay, so I found this small stamp mount. It hangs over a little bit. The sentiment hangs over a little bit on the top and the bottom, but I think I can make it work. And it just barely fits in there. So, obviously, if you're making this at home, you'd watch the whole thing and see where I made mistakes and avoid all the bad things that I did and just focus on the good stuff, as you should. I think it's going to work fine. But then again, if I misstamp it, then I've just ruined all this work that I have spent so far doing. So very carefully place it in there and just gently press and hope that I'm getting enough pressure on the top and bottom of the image. I'm actually just going to go in there with my fingernails. What a this is an awful tutorial, seriously. This is the what not to do when you're card making. Ah, perfect. Take that. That's awesome. All right, move over, Martha Stewart. Did you see that stamping feat of magnificence? All right, well, there you go. I think this is absolutely adorable, and I really like the smoke. You could also like maybe use a little bit of batting, like maybe pull a few threads from some cotton batting or a cotton ball or something. I think that would also look pretty. You do whatever you have, you know, dig through your stash, find what you have. You always can find these little treasures when you force yourself to kind of go through your supplies and see what you have. So next week we will work with one of the other brand new stamp sets from my line at Rubber Stamp Tapestry. I am so thankful that they gave me this opportunity to design these stamps for you guys, and I hope you enjoy them. So I will leave a coupon code in the video description so you can save a little money, and links to all of these products, as well as the really handy snowflake stamps that I used in the background and other supplies that I use, so you can gather up everything you need before you begin card making, and you don't have to, you know, go try to find a tiny little stamp mount when you're all done. You'll have have everything in a list so you can prepare a little bit better than I was. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Please give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Until next time, happy crafting.